Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
She Claare na Gael and Claare Shaws, but while I'm sure Altacha. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to present this bilingual programme, Claare na Gael, in the English language as Ghilg, and in the Manx Gaelic, Chine na Mera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and Jurish were looking at the diary of Dorothy Wordsworth and her visit to the Isle of Man in 1828, staying on the South Quay in Douglas with Henry and Joanna Hutchinson, whose sister Mary Hutchinson was married to Dorothy's brother, the poet William Wordsworth. To Jonathan Harker, Feather mach vai Sam Bloxam, Machion Kistjeren Moor leden de oer as Transylvania, Reneschen garige vai Tai en Count Dracula, Carfax, ons Purfleet, Essex, gus Tai ons Picadilly. Te chit een chan dunje en foslen na Taien, maar een dunje straja honneke rieu, din a weest en eishegge. Our first piece is a song by Welsh band BENDITH, all about colours, Lliwiau. Tas yw geestiach rys Radio Vanning, Stasiwn yn Asiwn, fy sgol ar sgeliena by Dwlish, Ellen Vanning.
Roedd na dden y dail teimlo'r hydref dan fy ngwadnau dan i'n gadael, gadael. Cerdded ffwr o'r llwybr heb ymwybod gollwng fynd, teimlo pleser pyr, pleser pyr. Sydd yn llifo yn fy môr.
We've heard the Rhys siblings before, Marged, Gwilym and Elan, singing as the trio Pli. And there they were joined by Carwyn Ellis, who leads a changing list of collaborators in a Welsh band called Colorama. And together, Pli and Colorama make up the band BENDITH. Miss Tobin and Mrs. and Miss Grove call. Very pleasant people. The afternoon hot and hazy. Walked with Mrs. Putnam, H and W. H is Henry Hutchinson, and at the time of Dorothy's visit, Henry and Joanna had another visitor staying with them, and this is W. Willie Wordsworth, 1810 to 1883. This is Dorothy's 18-year-old nephew, the youngest son of William and Mary Wordsworth. Walked on heights and descend northward to sands. Cliffs picturesque above Mona Castle. Well, the Castle Mona was built for the Duke of Atholl, but on his death in 1830 it was sold and was opened as a hotel in 1832. Dorothy, writing of course in 1828, continues, a waterfall without water. The castle of very white stone from Scotland, after the style of Inverary. Well, Castle Mona was designed for the Duke of Atholl by George Stewart, who was also responsible for the Red Pier in Douglas, much admired, as we shall hear. However, Dorothy isn't impressed by the use of Annan sandstone. How much handsomer and better suited to its site than native dark grey rock? Kama, gawi susa kjaun ega jena kistjeren, mordabeg het punten de hei, as mish liega skredden, as shege rosh marau ked au gedden susa kjaun nem sons achterbij, as hanel mish machjag nader. Cren achren o cosnos jack sa tai ons Picadilly, vraimi. Wij ons shenjes. Wij geërsen gol toiach dus cosnog as sen rosh merenk me, son trerem mi boele achlag, henke as ren eschen heen fosel en doris, as ren ek koenel jam de immigren na kistjigen stjach sa halje. Ol je na naijau, vraimi? She, va kwek sa chid waard as keers an aer. Aber tjirm aglach maar wij, as genel kunjen ro wij em an ach remmi cosna tai. Remmi brisje stjach round a kistjigen faggot sa halje. Wij, halje moer woon, as rauw weg elje onsen. Hoek mi onneib elje fedden maag tulju. Na rauw age bied. Remmi imme jay ager na weg. Now, as last Thursday, the 25th of January, was the celebration of the birth of Robert Burns in 1759, this is Ian Burns from his album Rhythm and Burns, with lyrics by Robert Burns.
Yet I stuck by him, I get up there, dance to warble, wobble, played, and not his daddy shed. Warm at me, but Robin share and hest. I share we him fin the you could I. Yet I stuck by him, west now Robin Ball, though I was a cotter, played me second trick, and me the eldest daughter, Robin share and hest. I share we him fin the you could I. Yet I stuck by him. Robin share and hest, I share we him fin the you could I. Yet I stuck by him. Robin promised me on my winter fiddle, fainted he but three goose feathers and a whittle. Robin share and hest, I share we him fin the you could I. Yet I stuck by him. Robin share and hest, and I share we him more. Robin share and hest, Robin share and Robin share and hest, and I share we and Robin share and hest, and I share we and my Robin share and hest, and I share we and Robin share and hest, and I share we and Robin share and hairst and I share William Robin, share and hairst and I share William, ha ha ha, and Robin, ha ha ha, Robin, share and hairst and I share William, Robin, share and hairst.
Robin sure and hairst. Robin certain of the harvest, but of course Robert Burns wasn't at all sure. In fact, he left the farming life behind. Well, that version of his poem was by another Burns, Ian, of that ilk, as I say, from his album Rhythm and Burns. And Shan dunje shen reneschen farsler Doris's renne duna ristre ren mi gimmen a shul. Genel kun je nem een giers jerry, Vashen and Lune. As genadu korkunjen irwe tai. Genad van sjach, gebi dolje derby jou machan shen. She fer urde lesh edin chlayege lesh unjeg voach anji, as Grecian urge suskus a doris. De fisse na Grecian shen, as ve orum gimmerge sus na kischigen, merish 3 fair tau hengt de gaus na ping. Hug and shan dun je skillin dau, as tre honneget er au chwisrig eddenok wat laal tulju. Ach, gawi fair jou ege gielen, as ve chi kjawe shies na Grecian, der a haiol je jou soel gwi mollach. Van mi smunjen, les je groente shaw, de vodins vedden a tai, maar so lukt au korurget de machare son an isegge, gauw mi toiach de golgus Picadilly. And Dorothy Wordsworth has described walking out past the nunnery, and she now compares that building with the Castle Mona. The nunnery house, she says, is as it should be. I wonder, the nunnery as we know it now was finished by 1830. She was there in 1828. It was perhaps a building, or perhaps she's just describing the nunnery that was in at the time before the present house was built. But anyway, the nunnery house, she says, is as it should be. And the castle, with stronger towers in the same style, would have been a noble object in the bay. So, rather damning there. Now she turns her attention to her friend Mrs. Putnam. Mrs. P's 2 houses, each £200, well finished. Road and flat, sandy space to the sea. A beautiful sea residence for the solitary. Pleasant breezes and sky clear of haziness. Well, the Putnams were living at Strathallan Crescent at the north end of Douglas Promenade, which had been developed just 3 years earlier. Presumably the Putnams had one house to live in and one for rental income, and the following day now, though. June the 29th, Sunday. A lovely bright morning. Walk with H. A fine view over the sky-blue sea. Breezy on the heights. At Mr. Brown's church. Text from Isaiah. The shadow of a great rock, etc., applied to our Saviour and the Christian dispensation. And we'll hear more about Mr. Brown, and that is, in fact, the Reverend Robert Brown, anon.
Moi caster arbor din din down din gone din gone ho din din down din gone is on ne fenti vada fretonet ne fenti vada fretonet amaros ruda khalawet din din down din gone ho din din down din gone is on rures triple mor rures triple mor et where you go and on the god din din down din gone din gone ho din din down din gone is on de guet now through yan and dro de guet now through yan and dro de guet does he what it bro din din down din gone ho din din down din gone is on dar buena du Adam trei turien malus ru Ding ding dong ding dong ding dong Ding ding dong ding dong ding dong
Breton musician and singer Alain Stivell live at l'Olympia in Paris in 1972 with a song giving a swan's eye view of the return from exile of the Breton prince Jean de Montfort, known as the Swan of Montfort, and his defeat of the French army in 1379. Stasiwn yn asiwn sien radio BETHAN NIA yn siot asiw geisiach rys Claare na Gael, mish Robert Cutting Carswell Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
De Claare na Gael maas de gieden door en de Claare radio BETHAN rys verglasen rys schachten lukt ook al skelia maag in geert, ja rys broe krammen agert in een degge radio BETHAN, as rai enem en Claare en sien. De Claare na Gael jint more podcastjes, vis vergeten nasty in de degge radio BETHAN, dat truden reichier de podcast jou. Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. The Rev Robert Brown, 1792 to 1846, was officiating at Old St Matthew's Church. The Wordsworths came to know the Brown family, and Dorothy was subsequently godmother to Margaret Brown, born in 1834, one of the younger siblings of T. Brown. T. Brown himself was born 2 years after this visit of Dorothy Wordsworth, and the Rev Robert Brown and his wife Dorothy Thompson had 10 children altogether. Old St Matthew's was surrounded by the marketplace on the South Quay in Douglas, and Dorothy says, "Marketplace and harbour cheerful, and, compared with yesterday, quiet. Gay pleasure boats in harbour from Liverpool and Scotland, with splendid silk flags. During service, the noises of children, and sometimes carriages, distressing. Mr. Brown, a sensible and feeling, yet monotonous and weak-voiced reader. His ironed shoes clank along the aisle. The effect of this is very odd. Va kiel chionnet piendach no Giaull. Sbachtelé, voor de vodach en Count Korish na kistjeren de oer, a hon heen. A shenanach, schansjoil nish vertrei. Son nish ve jit les skelia maag gus a geim shaw, adder geil jorish raya tre kui desen heen, kuljina an gin pecher bi fagene. Ons circus Picadilly ren mi ligger sula cabem, as hiul mi ma hier, chow hall jen vunrach doil, gamalishal, chow hall jen vunrach doil se, henk mi a tai as kunta currit As van mi saige jay, der au shaw a na jen na allen reichit eg Dracula. Van tai jen mar de berge wei gin tannis rishvoda. Van onjigen na skrigge les John, as van de koeligen trogit soes. Van kledden kreetlach du les trei. As fijn jaren van paints on a goed smeer duzjem onskeligen. Skranach wei derau gestrei gianach boert fogre moer rosje welken. Ach, wei repit by de garu. Now, Irish-American singer and guitarist ENDA REILLY has a project setting the poems of W.B. Yeats to music. This is his setting of The Wild Swans at Coole.
Their autumn beauty, the woodland paths are dry. Under the October twilight, the water mirrors a still sky. Upon the brimming water, among the stones, are 59 swans. The 19th autumn has come upon me since I first made my count. I saw before I had well finished, all suddenly mount and scatter within in great broken rings upon their clamorous wings. I have looked upon those brilliant creatures, and now my heart is sore. All strange since I hearing at twilight, the first time on this shore, the bell beat of their wings above my head. trod with lighter tread. Unwearied still lover by lover, they paddle in the cold, companionable streams or climb the air. Their hearts have not grown old, passion or conquest, wonder where they will. Attend upon them still. But now they drift on the still water, mysterious, beautiful. Among what rushes will they build? By what lakes edge or pool? The light men's eyes when I awake someday to find they've flown away, flown away, flown away, flown away, to find they've flown away, to find they've flown away, to find they've flown away, flown away, to find they've flown away, to find they've flown away, to find they've flown away, flown away, flown away.
The wild swans at Coole, as described by the poem of W.B. Yeats and set to music by ENDA REILLY, and that's from his album To the Waters and the Wild. ENDA REILLY, as I say, Irish-American, he's from Michigan. Van a stoppen girach va cumulsuse forser marn. Chow chulu je radlin an valken, honnig mi der au pert de woord njau chonelton, as na oren aujau gian ben. Weiden a chor moeren de we able de hagen a kleddenboer fogre, a fair fuddy de berg liedeniach mechon a pech belesh van tai. Va kunjen hem a chiel chonnetjem Jane Vrieltis as je kjonnach a Carfax. As gedot meer gennachten, de berg keerd au fedden een eer geluder, de berg aardeniach de redden de gasnes jaagse tai. Grauwweg ege trei woonde in zich vai edin ons Picadilly, as weg de jinno, maar so haimi magiet gus Coole tai, die een rauw weg rehikkel wijn uit show. Van stred stable brioil, a sly berg ons een goed smoothe hai in ons Picadilly. Vraimi je ferne gabel na rij, as je na koenederen, honnik gamelischel, vraimi je ferne gabel na rij, as je na koenederen honnik mig gul magiet, oder het ginstau weg mechon a tai vollem. Now in Claare, Gael, some time ago, we looked at the poetry of the Rev Robert Brown. He sent a copy of his work to William Wordsworth in 1826, and William Wordsworth said that he admired his poetry, which, not surprisingly, was mainly of a religious persuasion. In fact, that was part of the title. Although he didn't have fluency in Manx, the Rev Robert Brown worked hard at it to give regular sermons in Manx. Meanwhile, now that Dorothy had attended service at St. Matthew's on this Sunday morning, now called in the post office lane at the postmaster's. Narrow as an Italian street and cool, and the house low, cool, old-fashioned and cleanly. Stairs worn down with much treading, and everything reminding one of gentry life at Penrith 40 years back. Well, others described Post Office Lane as narrow, dark and unwelcoming, but Dorothy was evidently quite receptive to it. A cheerful family of useful-looking, well-informed daughters, English father and Scotch mother, well-informed and hospitable, crowds inquiring for letters. Well, at the time this was a family called Graves who were the postmasters. Well, we're off to Zennor on the southwest coast of Cornwall now with the band PISKEY LED.
Zennor trapped the mermaid in his small grey church. She's now as silent as the hardwood of the old dark yew. It's a
And there we heard Cornish woman Katie Lower with a setting of a poem by Victoria Field about Zennor. PISKEY LED are based in Cardiff, and apart from Cornish Katie, there are two members of the band from the north of Ireland, and the other is from Lancaster, but obviously calling themselves PISKEY LED, the influence of Cornwall is strong with them. After the St Matthew's service, Dorothy Wordsworth goes out now to Kirkbraden, she says, 1.5 miles, arrived at second lesson. Funeral service for 2 children, the coffins in the church. Mr Howard, a fine-looking man. He's the preacher out there, and I'll tell you more about him anon. Mr Howard, a fine-looking man and agreeable preacher. The condition of the righteous and of the ungodly after death, his subject. Reverend Thomas Howard was a great friend of the Rev Robert Brown, and in fact left St Matthew's to come to Kirkbraden in place of Thomas Howard in 1832. Groups sitting on the tombstones reminded me of the continent, writes Dorothy. The churchyard, shady and cool, a sweet resting place. We lingered long, and walked home through the gay nunnery grounds. The congregation rustic, but very gay. There seems to be no room for the very poor people in either church, and in Douglas great numbers were about in the streets during service. Well, these were the days when the richer parishioners could reserve pews for their own family use. Dwrt ferjaw drawe a chlas yn drawe cionich ach erich, ach nach dodig rei quayu egwe cionich. Ach, dyn se daw draw gystrefi yer henna bwr ffogr trogich drawe rychrec, as fyddi dy bodach Mitchell mec as candy, na ginty tyres tolu, ginstaw riddenach, an o drawe smunion draw cunionega fagen enemachol shen a woord. Harami giri gian de vei ro gian, na de liga rauwer visvei egen enish na eschen de chor cheb ber rauwer, ma so, cor buistes son sanach cajin, ren mi talcal soel. Nish van colleertis chitstjach on, as we een jouwer chit ver, maar so geren mi jummel treyer be. Look thou feathen maag enmes Mitchell Meccas candy, while your enme ons Tyach Barkley, de leer van mi senegok ons strijd Sackville. Besach lies en nimmer krijgen van dunje ser lorum, ach, vastach, gwisch redden as shen. concertina and whistle player Becky Hairst, leading her band BIRLINN JIARG in music of her own composition, Plastic Octopus and The Accident, from BIRLINN JIARG's album Seamount. Siodiw stasiwn yn asiwn radio fanning y si Claare na Gael fys rachlas yn carnish, mer yn pyn Robert gyda'n carswal Robert y Carslach.
Have you heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Geleus dintje dawd yr awa tai ons Picadilly, ys trwyd machach lort y sain henke mar tai wwysl, crecit, fe smwlion yr awa chwsiam ag cion. Trefrai mi je my chion y ffeich yn cionach dos le a chwlion began na slei ag ych smwlion, as renny leester y sialed na ros me dreger Te crecit chwansir. Gawji molestial dwrt mi, as mis chwisius cwrtoil, ach ta or lie am son giri pedan mach quair yn cionach Rish renny leester na saja. As renny trogel soust na mollion ega ir na serja. Te crecit chwansir, van fregert mol ega rish. Ach, de jarrow dwrt mi, scummad you ligge whish vis a shen ve Ach, scummad daw dreger Ta cushion the client and ox sausje de bollach ons lauwen Mitchell Meccas candy. Smbachtel ve den fair kiel heignach van shaw jen chid rang, as na rawi few are generish. Now, in relation to church attendance, St Matthew's was, in any case, quite a small church, particularly for the growing population of Douglas at a time when church attendance was widespread. When St Barnabas's was built 4 years later, in 1832, there were 500 places kept as free seating so that the very poor could still attend. And Dorothy Wordsworth's diary goes on to some personal information now. Mr. Putnam called. We've met Mrs. Putnam, of course, but Mr. Putnam called. A gentlemanly man, faded and delicate-looking. Brought up at Dublin College for the bar. Took to the stage. Married a Scotch lady, disapproved by her friends. Gave lectures on elocution. Had pupils, but obliged to desist having broken a blood vessel. Now living on a very small income at Douglas in lodgings. Sighing for housekeeping, and they bought the house he visited last night on the sands. So this would be on Strathallan Crescent, but we were told earlier that they had 2 houses, as I say, perhaps this was to get some sort of income for themselves. Now this is a Welsh dark religious song from the Plygain tradition, and it's performed by BETHAN NIA. harper and singer BETHAN NIA from her album Ffinia, the plug-in Gwel adeilad, See the Building. After tea, walked with Joanna on pier, a very gay and crowded scene. Well, I mentioned George Stewart's Red Pier earlier, and it was very much a favourite with people to walk on. Wedding parties would parade down the Red Pier and then round the handsome lighthouse at the end. No doubt Freud has an explanation. They also insisted on people wearing wooden pattens on the Red Pier so as not to wear down the fabric of the Red Pier with metal-shod footwear. But back to Dorothy Wordsworth's description of the scene. Saw the steam packet depart for Liverpool. Ladies in immense hats and as fine as milliners, and their own various tastes can make them. Bowish tars, their pleasure boats in harbour with splendid flags. 2 or 3 working sailors in bright blue jackets, their badges on their breast, straw hats trimmed with blue ribbons. For the first time I saw the Cumberland Hills, but dimly. Sea very bright, talked with old sailor, and tried his spectacles. Well, does she mean binoculars, I wonder, or does she literally mean spectacles to see if she could see those Cumberland Hills a little less dimly? Smunny me de bechen rid shere de choreber rare na veshen de higgle, maar so doet me rish. Zeg oilt en a client in jou wansjer, de wel code der choshadewak jena kushnok. Ta machine mo won je professionach. En sure hug me de a curtem. Se goes sure gen ei pikeres te kor brod dou. Ta mi gavrige asle en charn godalming. Ta giri per des me gion a tai. Va gaus we tiggle regrek gerrig. Ren de vogelen sure kor kommen no kuschen, doorte. Bewaljam koenelju waans je Harker, as bewaljam je koeneleschen charn. Keer de rauw rensjen rege kusch weg ons liggen bargain saach, chartans de gemer nere han, trebe een Arthur Homewood on the royal. Me wist you kordau enmes en charn, niem shir a korle go loch a gush, as niem mancher beek o skriwen den charn se foost nach. Now, Ellen MacDonald is the vocalist on this piece, and it's called DANNSA DUB, and it's played by DANNSA DUB. mashup of traditional Gaelic singing by Ellen MacDonald with DANNSA DUB. Now, DANNSA DUB is dub vocalist and producer Tom Spirals with traditional Scottish musician Ewan McLaughlin. And when they go out live, as they were last night, in fact, for Celtic Connections, they go out as a six-piece. Whether they had Ellen MacDonald with them, I don't know. Bí tatne sé ma vis cair don chindé go fád a bhain a réilen ein as de chor a fish shirrit den charn. Va mi géri cast na cara, as gné crút náid, ma sá hug mi buiste, hug mi an enmus ag tai an early siward, as henk mi by. Ve dorachan ish, as va mi ski as va agar as orm. Hur mi caban de hay ons choloch an aran erach, as henk mi shiskas perfleets an na train. Alone to the Douglas Head, says Dorothy Wordsworth. Very fine walk. Well, at that time Douglas Head formed part of a nunnery estate. It wasn't until 1870 that Sir John Goldie Tubman gave part of it to the people of Douglas by donating it to Douglas Town Council. And for the time being, there on Douglas Head, we'll take our rest. Well, joining us here on Douglas Head in just a few minutes' time will be Chris Pearson with the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 till 9. And then at 9, Judith Lay will be here to present Sundown. We bring Claare and Gael to a close with more music by the man who drew the attention of many to Breton music, Alain Stivell. And we take a voyage to the island, Imram ar Enez. Imram is actually an Irish story about a sea voyage, but ar Enez is Breton. And so until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert Carslach.
Old Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night, Eve. I'm a crieri was orselier, as my yeri and shed you will you.
Thank you.